Hello, my name is Adira, and for this, my policy memo focused on the issue of student homelessness under the McKinney-Vento Assistance Act. The policy is meant for students who are experiencing homelessness or don't have stable housing, by giving them access to resources like transportation, school stability, and basic needs. So they have, according to different schools, they have different policies on that. I wrote my memo for legislators and educational leaders in Southern California, and I recommended increasing funding and supporting for school-based services, especially for districts that are more of a low income. So, for example, I work at a district, Moreno Valley School District, and they have a high population of people who are qualify under the McKinney-Vento. So my recommendation was based on both research and my own experiences as a social work intern there, where I've worked directly with the students who qualify under McKinney-Vento, and I've seen how much it helped and supported the families and their needs, and as well as if there was more support, that it would increase student engagement within my population and my community. So personal versus collective values. One tension that I noticed was my policy memo was between personal responsibility and social responsibility. So some people, they argue the fact that homelessness is an individual issue and it just stems off of like the family. Oh, they're not doing something right, they're not doing this right. So basically making better choices or better financial or life decisions. But through my experience, I don't really see it as a personal problem. I see it more as a system levels issue, just because parents are often left with a choice. A lot of families do work and they do have income, but in this day and age, it's just not enough to, especially if they have more than one child, and they're dealing with things with like high rent. They're not getting paid as much. They may not have health insurance, so they have to pay out of pocket, and just a lack of affordable housing. Sometimes the housing crisis is very risen, and even things that are holding them back, like maybe prior convictions, felonies, it's holding them back from getting good housing. So that's out of their control. So I choose to lean more towards the collective responsibility, meaning that schools, communities, the government all play a role in supporting the students, especially because they are the main stakeholders to this. And if someone strongly believed in personal responsibility, they may criticize my recommendation for this, because they're saying that it creates dependency on either the schools or the government. But my response would be to that is, okay, let's say if it did even create dependency, isn't it better for them to depend on something than for them not to even have the access to it at all, and let me just get rid of it? That's what I would say. When it comes to that, is it more important for them to not have it, or for children to benefit off of it and have more stability when it comes to schools? Because kids are in schools 5 days out of a week, sometimes more if they go to Saturday school. So I think a lot of kids even see the teachers more than they see their parents. So I think school is a stability thing, and it's a dependable thing that families could really be provided with. So private versus public responsibility. In my policy memo, I lean more towards public responsibility. So especially through schools and the government systems. While private supports like nonprofits and community organizations is helpful, it's not very consistent, or it should have something between where, okay, school is mandated. Public school, you're put in public school, you have to opt out of public school kind of thing. So these are the main points, like I said, for these families that need help. At my school, they have something called the Wellness Center that offers resources, laundry, showers, to families in need. So it's like in conversation, sometimes it's like, oh, who needs this? Who's deserving of this? when really every kid's deserving of a great education and the basic requirements. It doesn't matter who it comes from, they still need it. So yeah, it provides the equity and access for all students regardless. So some immediate versus long-term approaches. My policy tries to balance immediate support and long-term solutions, but there's definitely at times some trade-offs. On the immediate side, students need things like their basic needs like food, hygiene, transportation, and schooling supplies like right now. They can't wait for food. But long term, the bigger issue it comes down to is, okay, we're doing this for the short term, but we need stable housing and systemic inequality in the long term. So if funding were limited, I would provide with the immediate needs first, so just helping them with their food, basic hygiene, things like that, and then we could brainstorm on things to do for long-term situations. So ideally it would be both, but realistically you have to focus on the things that you need right now. So for the final prompt, if I could keep from this class, it would be, it would be if I want to think of something, policy, it directly impacts people, and sometimes people don't believe that. Sometimes people believe, oh, they shouldn't vote, they shouldn't do these things, but ultimately the people who vote are the people who set policies. And I would advocate for people who, like the McKinney-Vento, for them to vote about these things because they're the stakeholders of that thing. So it would be that understanding and advocating for policy changes really helps, but also voting, getting yourself out there and really trying to read into the policies for the stakeholders that you represent. I believe that is honestly one of the most important things because, as a social worker, and especially as a Christian social worker, or a social worker that is Christian, or a Christian social worker, you are supposed to advocate for your clients, and you're supposed to make sure that they have all their needs. And due to that, you need to look at policy because policy often changes a lot, especially when it comes to education and the school system. So by looking and being educated on the policy and what's being informed by it and who is our representative, and staying in the loop when it comes to voting, okay, if you don't like Gavin Newsom, look at the policies he's enforcing and vote for someone else who you do like their policies. This is really important because you don't want someone else deciding what it is for the people who are underprivileged. So thank you, and yes.